Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Refund Shenanigans. I bought a riding lawnmower a few years ago from a big home store. I paid for delivery, and upon said delivery, it didn't start. The delivery truck had left by the time I had gotten gas in it and figured this out, so I called the store. I explained that my brand new, just delivered today lawnmower was not starting, and immediately the person on the phone asked me if I purchased the extended warranty. I hadn't, so they told me it would cost $100 to have them come get the lawnmower, and then however much more the repairs were. Mind you, this was brand freaking new. In my mind, they should bring me a new one to replace the one that didn't work upon delivery. No matter how much I argued, this worker was sticking to their story. I quickly changed my tactic and asked what the return policy was. As long as a return was initiated within 30 days, I could have a full refund, including the cost of delivery, and the store would come to pick up the mower for me at no additional cost. I pointed out that the store wouldn't replace my non-working item by taking one trip to my house to pick up the non-working one and bring me one that worked. And instead they would make 2 trips to pick up the one that didn't work and then bring me the new one I purchased the second time as a totally different transaction. The worker said yes, and when I tried to point out how that made no sense, he didn't want to hear it. So right then and there, I initiated a refund. I then immediately ordered a new one and had him set up the delivery date. After the date was set, we had to schedule the date for pickup of the old mower, and I made myself unavailable for any date other than the delivery date for the new one. So even though he had insisted they wouldn't just bring me a replacement mower and pick up the first one, they were now doing just that. But now, with the additional paperwork of processing a return and additional paperwork for delivery of the new mower. The manager called me later that day to apologize for the hassle, and they ended up waiving my delivery fee. The next story is called Practically New. I used to work in a Cath Kidston shop in London. For those that don't know the brand, CK is very floral vibes, bags, accessories and a very classically British style. When I moved to London, I joined a CK store from a different one, having already been a supervisor. This was a busier shop though, so I started as a sales assistant until the following year when I was a supervisor again. The day in question was a Sunday, and I was the only manager on shift. A woman came in with deep sense of purpose radiating off of her. She came to the till and laid down a quite frankly manky child's backpack. CK does these quite cute child-sized backpacks in all sorts of patterns, like flowers, dinosaurs, anything. This one had looked into the abyss and stared back. It was so discolored. There was also some brown stuff scraped along the side as well, which was delightful. The woman proceeds to tell me that the bag is broken, and she wrongly assumes I'm going to be extremely happy to help her. Even I cannot work miracles and return a bag that is definitely a few years old. It roughly goes like this. I am sorry, this is quite an old pattern, so I won't be able to do a return or exchange for you today. But I just bought this a few months ago. It shouldn't have been broken already. It's quite possible you bought this at an outlet store, in which case you need to go to an outlet store to return as the price would not match. No, I bought this at full price, it was £30. I'm sure this pattern is from 2014 or so it would not have been in the store recently. No, I need a refund or exchange, I bought it very recently. Do you have a receipt for a refund? No, I bought it recently, but I don't keep receipts. Can't you just take my word for it? I cannot process a refund without a receipt unfortunately, it's policy. At this point I realize this bag is going to come out to pennies if I find the code for it somewhere inside. But without a receipt, I can offer you an exchange or gift card. Why didn't you say that earlier? Okay, well, for an exchange that you say is broken, I need to take the bag and record it as faulty. Wait, you are taking it? If it's faulty, it needs to go to the warehouse to be looked at, and I can find the product code to find out how much money you can get for your exchange. Well, okay, if it gets me an exchange, you can take it. At this point, I generally take this bag that is literally disgusting and open it up to try and find a SKU code on the label. This is the only way to get an accurate record of what the bag is when there is no receipt. Luckily, this bag had the SKU code, and by the first number I already knew it was an old bag. I type in the SKU into the till, and this bag comes in at a whopping £5. She literally does not believe me that it is only £5. She walks around to my side and looks at me typing it in. She looks at the bag to read the numbers and tells me I can't read numbers. I type it in at least 20 times, and each time it comes out at £5. The lady literally stands there debating with me for another 5 minutes about the price. She is clearly fuming it's only £5 and is trying to figure out whether she wants to even do the exchange. She ends up buying 2 packs of hair clips and complains to me that this will make her daughter cry. I say thank you so much for coming, and then proceed to show everyone I work with the backpack covered in nasty stuff. The last story is called No Earbuds. This happened a few years ago, around the time I was 17. I had just started working at a smallish cafe run by a well-known family in our area. I knew some people who had worked there before. They told me for the most part the owners were great, very chill, laid back when it was slow, and normally weren't bad about breathing down the employees' necks. Their oldest daughter, who also had run everything, was the one who was very peculiar, and we'll call her Karen. I'm officially diagnosed with a hearing deficiency. Not enough to be considered deaf, but more than hard of hearing, so I wear hearing aids. On my first day before we opened, my co-workers asked me if they could do anything else to help me out, and we eventually started talking about hearing aids in general. While talking about everything, I mentioned that they had Bluetooth capabilities, so I could play music through them. Not that I would, but I could. Karen had been in the room at the time and said, "You can't wear those, no earbud policy," and tapped on the policy's paper on the wall. I protested, explaining they are hearing aids and not earbuds, and that I wouldn't be using them to listen to any music while I was working. Her reasoning was I didn't need them, because I wasn't considered fully deaf, and I was doing this to get around the no earbud policy, directly quoting when I said they could play music. I can't wear them? Okay, let's see how this goes. Placed them into the case in my bag and started my shift. I couldn't understand my trainer, couldn't hear the customers, couldn't hear when orders were called to be sent out. Things were going extremely slow. A couple of warm pastries burned since I wasn't able to hear the timers. Simple sentences had to be repeated multiple times, with people basically yelling at me just for me to be able to piece a few words together. I guess the cherry on top was me ignoring one of the owners when she tried speaking to me. Karen came up to me and tried addressing me about it until she finally realized what was going on after she had repeated herself 5 times. By the end of that shift, I was allowed to wear my hearing aids, no questions asked. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and would like to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. And if you want to support me even further, why don't you check out the channel membership? I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.